What's up, everyone? It's Otaku Tavern back at you with another video. Hope everybody's having a good day or nighttime, wherever it is for you. If you like the type of content I create, make sure you like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Click the bell notification so you don't miss a video. Or if you don't like it, give it a dislike. It's whatever. Anyway, so tonight I'm going to talk about something I've been meaning to talk about for quite some time now. Because I don't really see a whole lot of people really talk on it, but we're gonna talk on it. So I want to talk about dating myths and dating advice that are just total BS, right? Like actual quotes that people will say to pretty much really just try to give you terrible advice and all of that stuff, right? So without further ado, we're going to get into this. So y'all, the first one, honestly, I'm going to be straight with you. This one's going to be extremely cringe. Like, I feel like this one I'm about to say now is just one of the most cringiest, honestly, like, advice things I've ever heard. But anyway, well, actually, you know what? No, sorry. There's one that it comes before this. So the first one I want to talk about is they try to tell you don't go to bed angry. Now, basically, the reason that they'll be like, oh, well, you can't go to bed angry, you know, in a relationship. Well, I don't know who came up with this idea, or this, I mean, I guess it was probably somebody from Toxic Positivity that obviously made this stupid crap up. But the thing with don't go to bed angry, you know, the thing is sleep often brings clarity, right? So if you go to bed if you're just mad or whatever, right, odds are you may not be mad when you wake up. Okay, I mean, I've went to bed many of times I was mad about something, and you wake up and it's like, yeah, it does not even matter, bro, like, in that moment, unless it gets brought up again. But the point being is, if you go to bed, you know, angry, they act like this just like the end of the world because you went to bed angry, right? Very, very, very ridiculous. You know, another thing too is like fatigue, you know, makes conflict resolution harder. So if you're in the middle of an argument with someone, you know, that you're dating or even married to, and you know, you got this conflict going on, but yet let's just say you ain't slept in 2 days because you believe, oh, you can't go to bed angry. Well, to come up with a solution or a resolution to the problem, that's honestly going to be much harder, because it's just going to fuel the argument due to the fact that both people are dead tired, man. Like, they're both dead tired. If they've not had 2 days of sleep, then obviously that's not the best decision. Okay? So it's like, you know, I just don't agree with this. And another thing too, it also like forces premature resolutions too, like big time. Like, or also like resolutions that, you know, you're definitely going to regret, so to say. So it's like, you know, this, honestly, this is just gosh awful advice, man. Like, it's not good advice at all, but you know, a lot of people, like a lot of these things I'm going to be talking about, like, and I don't even know if we'll finish all this in one video because there's just so much, but yeah, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these. I'm just kind of going to spend like a little bit of time. But yeah, you know, the whole thing of like don't go to bed angry. You know, like, the reason they say, a lot of times the reason they say this is derived from a verse that people misconstrue when they read the Bible, about like, don't let the sun like go down on your anger. Now, you know, that doesn't mean that, oh, if you're angry and the sun goes down, that, oh, you're in deep trouble. That's not what that means. You know, basically, you know, try not to be angry long. Try to work out a solution to the problem. All that stuff, right? But, dang it. But, like, you know, a lot of times people don't want to work out solutions to the problem. You know, which leads me to my next one I'm going to talk about, and this one is so cringe, man. This one, honestly, is probably the most cringe one I will talk about. So, you hear a lot of middle-class men say this, and it's just really, really disgusting when they say this. But what they will say is they will be like, happy wife, happy life. Now, you've probably heard this before. Like, this is a pretty well-known like myth that is like spread around, like especially within like the Western world. Yeah, here's the problem with that, man. Like, you know, it teaches you to be a simp. It teaches you to never tell a woman no. It teaches you to just pretty much give anything and everything she wants or asks for. Okay? Like, and you notice in a lot of these relationships to where these simp men will, you know, be like this. They will be like, you know, oh, well, she wears the pants, right? You know, it's never like a 50-50 situation or none of that. It's just, it's always, you know, if she doesn't get what she wants, then there's conflict. You know, I think that is very, very, very toxic, to say the least. There's a lot that I could say about this. I won't for the sake of the video. But, you know, this implies that I'll tell you what this really implies. It implies that one partner's happiness matters more than the other. So, if you're a man and you're just absolutely miserable, oh, it's alright, because if the wife is happy, that's all that really matters. This is very, very narcissistic. Like, I can't stress that enough. Like, it's just, it's so crazy that people even say this type of rubbish. You know, and there's even a counterpart to that too, of like happy husband, happy house, or something like that along the lines. It's kind of the same cause and effect, really, just the gender is swapped. Like, but you don't really hear like the happy husband, happy house really all that much. Most of the time, it's the happy wife, happy life scenario. You know, and I'll tell you another thing that this also does too. This also will breed like extreme resentment, because you are having to sacrifice your happiness to do whatever this woman wants, to bend over backwards and just, you know, be like a little jester or a little servant or something. It's like, you know, nah, I'm good, bro. Not gonna happen here. I think both people involved, their happiness matters. Hey, how's it going, Spyro 93? How you doing? But like, you know, a lot of times too with this as well is you notice that if like the woman's like, oh, I want to go on vacation. Well, you better start spending out shoveling a lot of money to do it, because happy wife, happy life, right? You know, this also teaches, like, not only just to be a simp, but it also teaches, like, men to just sacrifice everything, their happiness, hobbies, whatever it is, their time, money, energy, resources, for what? You know, just so a person will stay? Bro, they're staying because they're getting all this crap. Like, that's why they're staying. So it's pretty much like they're just leeching off of you, really. And that right there is just not good at all, right? Like, I definitely advise against this type of behavior for either one involved, man or woman, because this will definitely breed extreme, resentment. And it also, like, significantly reduces the relationship health, too, to just a mood of, like, if someone's feeling good, right? Like, oh, if that one person's not feeling good, then you better be preparing for all hell to break loose. No, you killed Horsey? I had to. He was like trespassing in my house. Anyway, like, it just goes to show that, like, people, they just don't give the best dating advice, right? Or marriage advice, nothing. They give you the most toxic garbage that is regurgitated by someone else. Like, they just follow blindly to this, and it's no wonder that, really, in all honesty, they may put up a front that they're doing good on the socials, but in all reality, you're not in that guy's mind. So I guarantee you that guy is absolutely miserable. You know, and a lot of these times, like, a lot of these people will literally drop hints about how they feel about it, but then, like, kind of correct themselves when they see the woman will look at them a certain way or whatnot. And it just goes to show that these people, you know, in most relationships, you're not treated as equals. Like, that's kind of the problem, you know, and in a lot of relationships, you're not treated as equals, you know. And I mean, there are certain things in relationships you will not be equal on. That's a given. But, like, as far as respect, you know, stuff like that, that stuff should be equal, regardless of if you're male or female, right? Like, it's just kind of common sense that, you know, that type of respect obviously really matters. And another one, like, is, shoot, I mean, you know, love means never having to say you're sorry. That's another one. Now, if you really think about this, this is one of the most narcissistic types of dating advice that anyone can receive, because it erases accountability. Regardless if you're the man or the woman, it erases accountability. My dad always told me a family is a kingdom where the man runs the house and everyone else serves. I mean, you're not wrong, bro. You know, like, that's, a lot of people don't want to accept that, but, now I'm not saying a woman should be a slave by no means, but, I mean, I do have traditional roles, obviously. I mean, I am a Christian, but, I wouldn't be, like, legalistic, though. Like, I'm not gonna say, like, a man can't, like, sweep the floor or, something like that, you know. But, like, yeah, no, you know, another thing too, not only does this erase accountability, but, like, it all, like, you know, real love requires frequent apologies, man. Like, it really, really does, because, listen, if you're sitting here going into a dating, you know, or say you're married, why don't you try living a month without apologizing to your husband or wife, or if you're dating a girlfriend or boyfriend? You try that. And I promise you will be single within a couple of days at best. At least, I mean, because, like, it's not going to, it's just not going to work. Like, you obviously have to take accountability when you have done something wrong, man. Like, I mean, that is obviously a given, and it just goes to show that people just want to use this type of stuff to erase accountability. You know, we live in especially in the Western world, we live in like a culture now that's like, accountability is out the freaking window. Like, you know, nobody's respecting anyone anymore, bro. Like, no accountability. Like, I mean, it's pretty bad, man. It's gotten extremely toxic. Like, and it may, you know, I would never put myself back on the dating market. No way in hell would I ever do that. Like, there's no way. Like, you couldn't pay me to do that. The only thing like that would ever change my mind is a damn good Asian woman. That's it, man. Like, nothing else would change my mind on that, unless you, like, have some sort of, like, technology that can make, like, anime waifus real. If you can do that, then I'll definitely put myself back on it. But, like, you know, I mean, it just goes to show that a lot of people, you know, they will say any type of garbage just to not do any sort of accountability. And, you know, you have to have accountability within relationships, regardless if it's family-wise, friendship-wise, dating-wise, marriage-wise, you know, whatever. Like, you have to have accountability, because, you know, if you don't have any accountability, you know, think about all these people that don't have accountability. What do they all have in common? Well, they all end up alone. Like, you know, and they sit there and wonder, oh, you know, why doesn't anybody want me? And it's like, well, because you have no accountability. You know, so it's like you have no accountability. You know, it just goes to show that that right there is just as BS. So another one is if they love you, they should know what you need. Okay. Now, I have heard this one quite a lot, to be honest. Well, what does it mean to have accountability? I have talked about that in some other videos. I'm not really going to kind of stretch that out to talk about that in this video due to the fact that this is kind of like a one-topic thing. I do appreciate the question. I may do like a separate video based on that since you asked. Oh no, you're good. You don't have to apologize. This is the first time I've seen you on here, so don't worry about it. Anyway, so like, you know, if they love you, they should know what you need. Okay, this honestly expects you to just read someone's mind. Okay, and you can't do that. You're not God, obviously, so you can't read someone's mind. This is just garbage advice, right? So, another thing too is this also destroys communication. This is Cinnamon Roll from Discord, by the way. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I didn't see you changed your name. I haven't heard from you in a while, so you know, another thing is like, not only does it destroy communication, but like, you know, you have to kind of like tell your needs, like what you need or whatnot, and you know that kind of that is crucial for a relationship. Like, you know, you obviously have to have that. Yeah, I've been busy. Ah, that's cool. Another thing too is like, healthy partners state their needs clearly. So if your partner is not stating their needs, you've got a problem. And you've got a major problem. Like, because if they're not stating their needs to you, I promise you they're stating their needs to someone else. I can promise you that right now. And that is not a place you really want to be in. So, where is this? Oh, where's this? There. No. Dang it. Oh, crap, I lost it. Hang on. There we go. You know, another thing, like another one, right, is like the right person, like, makes you feel complete. I would say that this is kind of a half-truth. Like, because I will say there are narcissists who will use this to, like, how do I say this? Like, to keep, like, bondage over you, per se. So it's like you really got to be very careful when you're really, you know, doing this. Another one is like, if it's meant to be, it'll be easy, right? This is one of the biggest lies in the dating marriage market. Like, you know, life is not easy in and of itself. You know, we got things like inflation going on in today's world. You know, a lot of things going on. So it's like, you know, thinking like that, honestly, is absolutely absurd to even think that way. Because life is not easy. So it's like, you know, that right there is very, very bad advice, man. Like, it's... Okay, you villager, get out of here. Go on. Okay, you okay. You want to play that way, that's fine. Where's... Yeah, get out of here. Okay, sorry about that. Like, you know, it also, you know, it also ignores required effort too. Like, you know, you're pretty much just like being told, oh, well, you just don't even have to put any effort. Like, you know, I've actually heard people say that, oh, now that I'm married, like, I don't have to, impress my partner. Now, I think that's a slippery slope. I think a person should really define exactly what it is that they mean when they say this, because if you're saying that, like, you just have to sit around and not do anything, I would say you're wrong. Like, I mean, that's not how that works. Like, there are certain things, you know, you do have to do. And I'm not talking about spending money, by the way. But, like, another thing, too, is, like, how, you know, how you fight matters, not if you fight. So, I'm going to tell you this now. If a couple does not fight, like, at all, then this relationship is already doomed. Because more than likely, if they don't fight, neither one of them cares. Because when the fights stop, that means the people that were fighting, means they no longer care. They don't care enough to fight, and they don't care enough to spend their energy fighting with someone that they care about. Now, like, I'm not talking about from a narcissistic standpoint either, obviously. Like, I am talking, like, from a legit couple that genuinely cares for each other, obviously. But, you know, a lot of this stuff is just really crazy, because, you know, another one is like, keep the peace at all costs. You know, you hear like people say, oh, just do it to keep the peace. You know, bro, no, forget you. I'm not doing nothing to keep the peace. Because, not in that instance, because that basically, you know, that's like if, oh, well, if you have to be a doormat to keep the peace, then so be it. Become a doormat. That's their advice to you. And I highly advise against this. Like, I wouldn't say that is a good thing to do. Obviously, being a doormat is not good. So, another thing too is it prioritizes temporary quiet over genuine resolution. So it's like if they could just get a bit of quiet, you know, oh, it doesn't matter, you know. But that's the thing, man. They'll start fighting about it again later. So it doesn't really solve the problem. It creates like a kitchen sinking, you know, where small issues explode later. You know, it also suppresses emotions. You know, it also breeds deep resentment. Like, you're going to end up resenting this person you're with. You know, so, and then when you get to the point of resentment, you know, that the relationship's over, the friendship's over, all of it's over. You know, it's crazy. Now, another one I want to say, and this one's very cringe too, and you know, I thought this one always sounded off when I was when I was a teenager, but now that I'm a young adult, like it really it really just goes to show, like, how much we just really don't question these things back then. And the quote is, opposites attract. Now, this is a load of garbage. I'm going to tell you now, this is some of the most load of garbage I've ever heard. Now I will say that it's true for minor quirks or like surface personality traits, kind of like surface level kind of stuff, but like that's it, man. Like, because it's very false for core values, finances, life goals, hobbies, interests, you know, anything that can build a connection. Like, it's also like deeply misaligned with it's deeply misaligned on core values, and it pretty much predicts relationship failure. You know, the relationship has failed before it has ever started. And you see this happen a lot, you know. But another one is relationships are always 50-50. Now, I'm not talking about splitting a bill 50-50. That's not, I'm talking about like the people in general, the actual individuals, not anything financial, because you know, life is rarely distributed evenly. Okay? I can tell you that right now. Like, anybody who thinks that life is going to be evenly with someone else, you are crazy to even think that, because that is very silly to believe. Like, it's going to end in failure. But another thing too is, like, some weeks, you know, you're going to be on an 80-20 due to illness, grief, mental health, or something. So you may have a guy who is 20 out of 100 while the wife is running on 80. Or you may have a situation sometimes to where you're like, you know, say you're the woman and you're running on 80, and then the man is running on 20. You know, it's like, you know, I can tell you that now because I'm married, and I can tell you now that is the case. That is true. There are days, honestly, when I'm running on 0. Like, you know, so it's like, another thing too is, like, success requires, like, a lot of they'll be like, success requires both partners giving 100% of what they can. Okay, but what if that 100% is only 10% in that moment? What then? Is it just it's just doomed? I highly disagree. I don't think so. I think, hey, how's it going? I think a lot of people, you know, they really, don't understand a lot of these things. Now, the next one I'm going to say, this one here, now I'm actually going to mention a song when I actually say this. So, you hear this phrase, now this doesn't necessarily have to be with dating, but you do hear it a lot in the dating and marriage field, and that is, time heals all wounds. Now, this is a load of garbage. This is not true. There's actually a song that I listen to by this metal band, and it's about, time, past regrets, the fear of getting old, and, in the song, the guy screams out, there's two guys screaming back and forth, in a conversation, like both of them are feeling the same thing. And, one of these guys is like, they say that time always heals, and then the other guy screams at him, then ask me how I really feel. So it's like, it's a load of rubbish. If you say you're grieving, right, if you're grieving correctly, if you are having a lot of trouble with grief, I'm going to be honest with you, time is not going to heal your wounds. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Now I'm not saying that, you may not cope with it better, sort of. That's a possibility. Unless you simply just didn't care about that person like you thought you did. Okay? Now, that's another thing. Like, with grief, if a lot of people, who are truly grieving, they're breaking down in public, bro. So time is not going to heal these wounds. It's like you have so much unaddressed betrayal or hurt that will rot into resentment. So, say you get say you're a woman or a man, you go through a relationship to where you are cheated on and you have a bunch of trauma because of it. I say this because I personally experienced this on a daily basis of a past partner that I had talked about on here before. But, it really goes to show, these people are not coming to you and apologizing. These people are not coming to you trying to set things right, make things right, and to set the score straight. No, as a matter of fact, they don't care. And, another thing, too, is like they say, well, active work, active repair work and behavioral changes heal wounds. This is garbage too. That's not true. I don't give a dang. I knew a guy. I know a guy. And he is my best friend's dad. From the one I talked about that died in a car accident. And this guy broke down to me and told me, oh, well, people tell him to just go get another job, go do all this type of garbage. And, he actually broke down to me one time in a bowling alley talking about that and how, it was so dismissive and how it was so terrible and heartless. And, I agree with him. And I let him lean on me, bro. Like, I hate to say it, but I hugged this dude while he cried, man. This guy, this wasn't like this was this guy's soul itself was crying. Like, it wasn't oh, I'm crying because I stubbed my toe. No, this was like some of the most intense crying I've ever seen. And, like, time will not heal his wounds. Time will not heal my wounds because of losing my best friend like that. Time will not heal any of these people's wounds. Now, sure, it may get somewhat easier, sort of, I say sort of, to cope with. but not much, right? Not by a long shot, right? So, crap. And it just goes to show, man. Like, it really, really does that. You really can't trust anybody when it comes to giving advice a lot of times. Like, like for a lot of people, they give really, really bad advice, and that's what really really sucks. But like another one too is like, winners never quit and quitters never win. This is just regurgitated nonsense, honestly. This traps people in abusive or deeply toxic dynamics, obviously. Also it's leaving a broken relationship. It's often a sign of high self-worth, okay? Knowing when to walk away saves mental health. So, honestly, if the quitter is walking away due to mental health problems, regardless if it's a man or a woman, I would say they won pretty big. And so, but a lot of people would disagree because they defend these toxic dynamics, they defend the narcissistic abuse, all of this stuff that goes on. And it's like, another one too is like, for better or for worse, okay? You hear this said at weddings a lot, you hear this said, maybe in dating a lot, but like, it's total regurgitated nonsense. It's actually a humiliation ritual, because 9 times out of 10, it's never true. Because, it's used it's weaponized to excuse continuous bad behavior, addiction, neglect, narcissistic abuse, all this types of stuff. And it's like, not only that, like for worse, so to say, should mean external hardships like illness or job loss, okay? Stuff like this. No, this is actually you might as well just do a 360 on this, because, or a 180, whatever you want to call it, because it's actually the opposite. If you get ill, you lose your job, bro, that's it. For better or for worse goes right out the freaking window. You are thrown in the trash bin like a piece of paper. Another thing too is it should not mean enduring mistreatment from your partner. A lot of people should be like, oh, well, we're married now, so you have to endure, all this mistreatment. And it's like, I don't understand why people think this way, because it's very moronic. It's very narcissistic. Like, it just goes to show that, these people, they ain't really with you for the right reasons. Another thing too is you can't change a person, right? This is another big one. This involves like growth. Kind of like a growth or a change myth. Like, it ignores the human capacity for growth, learning, maturity, all of that stuff, right? People can and do change, if they're internally motivated, okay? The actual myth is thinking you can force them to change. If they internally and intentionally are motivated to change, what do you mean you can't change a person? Because you kind of just did. It happens all the time. People do it all the time, right? So it's like, it's and it's also got like a flip side too. Like, they will change for me, right? Now, this is kind of like a dangerous flip side of what I just stated. Like entering a relationship based on, failure potential, it always leads to heartbreak, right? You must accept the person exactly the way they are today. Like, these are very toxic dynamics. Especially within like westernized culture, no matter what they do, oh, well, you have to accept me how I am. So if they spend all their money and go gambling, oh, well, nope, that's just who I am. So you got to accept me. Like it's been turned into something toxic, right? Like it's just it just goes to show that yet again, a lot of these people do not have the greatest intentions, And another one that's really big that they say is love means never having to change who you are. Now, this is total BS. This is some of the biggest BS I've ever heard. Like, you do have to change to a degree, man. I mean, like because if you don't, like, how are you going to fix anything? Like, I mean, you're not really going to fix anything if that's how it's going to be. It demands absolute stubbornness, like under the guise of like authenticity, right? Like, or something like that. So it's like, if you're constantly in a state of stubbornness, there's no room for growth. There's no room for anything. Growth requires shedding bad habits or adapting to another person. Rigid people make terrible partners. Like, you hear all this stuff. It's like, yet again, it's very toxic. It's very damaging. Another one, now since we've talked about like romance films, how they're a load of garbage on the film, like, so you hear, a good relationship doesn't require hard work. This is like it's ridiculous. Like this is not rooted in reality at all. Like it's terrible advice to give someone. Like this advice is given to men and women like on the daily when they they see these movies, right? Like it just really goes to show that a lot of these people just do not have the best of intentions, right? They really don't. They give you toxic dating advice or whatever, because a lot of times these people want to see your relationships fail. They want to see you fail because they get off on it. They want to see someone fall. You're always coming across somebody that wants to see a person fall all the time. It's like, not a good, not a good thing, and another thing too is like thinking it should be easy causes people to quit the moment challenges arise. Like, it's going to end very quickly, and another thing too, coexisting with another human being for decades requires immense, deliberate effort. So, you know, but a lot of these are just ridiculous. Seriously, like it's so ridiculous that you know, I don't even understand how someone can even believe like any of this stuff, right? Like I really don't, because it really, it's just really damaging, like, to the relationships. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. I'm not gonna keep this like really long. Hope you enjoyed this. On a good note, I did have something good happen to me today. So, one of my favorite bands put out a new song. They're like an independent band, and I have a lot of respect for this woman that's in the band. And anyway, they put out this new song. It's about like fake people, how like all people care about is like dopamine hits, you know, likes on socials, you know, stuff like that. And the song actually really helps kind of cope, I guess, with the reality that sadly we're in. But anyway, I left the band a big comment, right? Because this band like usually replies to their fans, like the girl usually replies to her, you know, YouTube comments and such. So I left a big long comment for her in the band, right? And you know, she responded back within like 2 hours. Gave me a pretty good message, pretty good encouraging message. So that was nice. I really was really glad that she actually messaged back. I thought that was really cool. But very good band though. I really enjoyed them. But it was a metal band, you know, that I like. But Marissa says, that's kind of why I keep my relationship a secret until I know it's set, because of the drama others make. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think that's, and really to be honest with you, see, I'm the type of person, I don't believe in sharing my relationship on social media. I just don't believe in that. People who do that are not, I don't think they have their priorities straight. Now, sure, they may be married and die married, but that is a red flag. That is an extreme red flag, you know, that something is deeply wrong within the relationship, I think. Now, you may say, oh, well, if I'm a man, I want to show off a hot girl. And it's like, you know, I could do that in public when I go to Walmart or wherever I go, right? I don't have to do it on the socials for just random strangers to look at, you know? Like, it's just, it's really weird. But yeah, anyway, that is going to do it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it, and it's a crazy world we live in. We get a lot of bad advice, but we're here to talk about that advice and to give good advice. So, yeah, obviously, if any of these people say any of these things to you, if you're in a relationship, friendship-wise, acquaintance-wise, family-wise, honestly, I'm going to tell you, you probably need to do without them in your life, to be honest, because they're just going to continue to give you bad advice. You're never going to be able to come to a person like this and say, oh, well, they gave me good advice, you know. No, they're never going to give you good advice, so therefore, what point is it to talk to these people about said thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not really going to end well for really you or the other person involved in the relationship. So, it's like, you know, you gotta really just be careful with a lot of this stuff. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, yep, I'm gonna end this one here, like I said. And I will see you all next time. God bless you all, and I hope if you have relationships, hopefully they prosper. And yeah, good luck to you all. See ya.